USC's revenge tour continues this week as the Trojans return home to face reeling 1-3 Arizona State. Will the USC offense return to form, or will the struggles we saw last week in Corvallis continue? We'll talk about that and more on this week's Trojan Game Preview. Hey guys, welcome in. This week we're previewing USC against Arizona State. This is a much needed get-right game for the USC Trojans, especially on offense. Arizona State has been struggling mightily on both sides of the ball, so hopefully this is a week where USC can score a bunch of points and get those backups in early so that we can stay healthy for Washington State. Now, this is a game that USC dropped last year, but these are two entirely different teams than the ones who played each other last year, on two entirely different ends of the spectrum as well. And of course, last year it was USC who had fired their head coach earlier in the season. So the roles have completely reversed now, and now it's Arizona State who has fired their coach and has a position coach as the interim. College football is a crazy world, but here we are. Now, there are a bunch of questions about this Arizona State team, primarily revolving around who's going to be the starting quarterback. SunDevilSource.com is reporting that starting quarterback Emory Jones did not take first or second team reps in the 11-on-11 period. Now, that was on Tuesday and Wednesday, and the really intriguing part is that Emory Jones did participate in the normal skill development period. So he isn't hurt, which means that Arizona State could be looking to change up their starting quarterback, but we don't know if they're going to do that for a fact. So for the sake of this preview, we're going to presume that Emory Jones is the starting quarterback. Alright guys, so let's dive into this preview and meet these Arizona State Sun Devils. Alright, so first let's meet the coach of Arizona State football, and that is interim coach Sean Aguano. A few weeks ago, he was the running backs coach, and now he has the almost impossible task of pulling this ASU group together and try to string together a few wins. Much like Dante Williams did last year at USC, he's been working a lot to change the culture with things like more intense practices, holding players accountable for being late. Arizona State defensive tackle BJ Green described him as a modest but intense coach. As we saw last year, those changes are great, but the stain of Herm Edwards is still all over this program, so it's hard to expect anything to really change. Relating to the on-field product, that is. Now let's transition over to this Arizona State offense. And of course, we'll start with the aforementioned presumed starting quarterback, Emory Jones. Emory Jones transferred to Arizona State after he lost the starting quarterback job at Florida to Anthony Richardson. He is definitely more of a threat on the ground rather than through the air, at least at this stage in his career. He is a very limited passer. The easy things tend to look really difficult for him. Watching his tape last week against Utah, you can definitely tell why they're thinking about making a change at the quarterback position. He was just missing the layups over and over again. When he's in the pocket, his decision making is very poor, his ball placement can be awful a lot of the time, and he has a really good arm, but that can come at a detriment sometimes because he throws everything as hard as he can. He needs to learn that not every ball has to be a 100-mile-per-hour heater. Now, some of the things he does well, he climbs the pocket very well. He looks a lot more comfortable when he's outside of the pocket, his decision making improves, his accuracy improves. Which begs the question, why doesn't Arizona State get him out moving more? They're really asking him to play a game that he isn't suited for. He has very clear-cut strengths and weaknesses, and Arizona State asking him just to drop back and hang in the pocket and throw is detrimental to both Emory Jones and this offense as a whole. And another defense of Emory Jones, this wide receiver room is lacking talent, and that's me putting it nicely. Aside from Colorado, this wide receiver room is the worst in the conference. These guys struggle to get any kind of separation. Now, what I'm about to say not only goes for the wide receiver room or just the offense in general, but their entire roster. It got absolutely decimated by players leaving through the transfer portal. There are multiple spots on the field for them weekly where walk-ons are regular contributors. It's a sad state of affairs in Tempe right now. But anyways, getting back to the offense, their number one wideout is 6'2", 190-pound Elijah Badger. Last week against Utah, he had 5 receptions for 76 yards. But by far the best player on this Arizona State offense is Wyoming transfer running back Xavier Valladay. He has been an absolute stud for them this season. He looks like an NFL back to me, honestly. He has great vision, great burst, he's fearless, and my favorite thing about him is his patience. The number one goal for this USC defense this week has to be to stop the run. You commit to stopping the run and you make them throw, and I think you win the game. Another interesting target to look out for is Missouri tight end transfer Messiah Swinson. He's 6'8" and 255 pounds. He only has 5 receptions up to this point on the year, but at that size, he's definitely someone to watch out for, especially in that red zone. Now, moving to the Arizona State offensive line, they got absolutely overrun by the Utah pass rush. USC should be able to get pressure just with 4 guys. And we know what happens when USC gets pressure on the opposing quarterback. Turnovers, turnovers, turnovers. So this looks to be another week where the USC defense could feast and get multiple picks or fumble recoveries. Now, some interesting numbers to talk about. Arizona State has the number 93 ranked passing efficiency. They're also 103rd ranked first down offense. This group has a bunch of trouble getting into advantageous spots, so if USC can consistently keep them in 2nd and 10 or 2nd and 9, that will really bode well for the Trojan defense. Now let's head to the other side of the ball and meet this Arizona State defense. This was just some brutal tape to watch, both in terms of talent, execution, and just overall scheme. Going from the Oregon State defense last week that was disguising coverages and blitzes, dropping linemen into coverage, to this Arizona State defense, it's literally night and day. This has to be one of the most conservative and bland defenses I have ever watched in my entire life. That's not an exaggeration. They sit back and play cover 3. They give the opposing offense anything they want. And when I tell you that they don't blitz, I mean they don't blitz. I mean they only have 2 sacks on the entire year. Their pressure rate is incredibly low as well. I was absolutely flabbergasted just watching them keep sitting back and not bringing anybody the entire Utah game. It was bizarre. Now, of course, as we've seen in the Stanford game with their offense and the Oregon State game with their defense, teams can completely change their identity and what they do for the USC game. So the USC offense needs to be on their toes just in case of that, but they've shown me nothing on tape to be concerned about scheme-wise. Now, this Arizona State defense is one of the more poor tackling defenses I've seen, especially in the back 7. I saw a lot of missed tackles on tape. Truth be told, there's just not a lot to talk about with this defense. They're so bad and they don't really do a lot that's interesting. I do want to highlight 2 of their players on defense. One is senior linebacker Kyle Soule. He's the leader of the defense. He has 51 tackles and 2 INTs on the season. He's a captain as well. Also, another really intriguing player is defensive back Ro Torrance. He's 6'3", 210 pounds. He has great length. He's one of the better tacklers on this Arizona State defense, so he's definitely someone to watch out for as well. Now it's time for my keys to the game. As always, we'll start with the offense. The first one for the offense is return to form. Before the Oregon State game, the offense was humming. You definitely like to see them get out of the funk they had in the last game and continue on the success of that last drive. Hopefully a big game for Caleb. Hopefully he hits his checkdowns. Hopefully he hits the deep balls. Hopefully he's just on from start to finish. Number 2 is the no turnover streak. This is something that I'm starting to see the national media pay attention to. USC still has not turned the ball over on offense. We're 4 games in. That is absolutely insane. Part of me kind of wants them to turn the ball over just so they get the first one out of the way so it's not like an avalanche of turnovers in that Utah game or something. But the other part of me says screw it. The streak's awesome and I hope it goes all season. And the last one for the offense is air assault. This Arizona State secondary can't hang with these wide receivers. With Washington State and Utah coming up, this passing offense needs to be clicking. Whatever the issue was last week, figure it out, get everyone on the same page. Make sure Caleb is feeling himself, because Washington State can put up some points. That game needs to not be overlooked. The offense needs to be on the same page. Now moving over to the defensive keys to the game. We talked about this a little earlier. The first one is stop the run. This Arizona State passing game is absolutely anemic. If you can stop the run and force them to throw the ball, you're going to be in great shape as a defense. Now the second one on defense is get off the field on 3rd down. This Arizona State offense is 123rd in the country in 3rd down conversion rate. They are 13 of 46 on the year, just absolutely awful. Keep that trend going, get them off the field, and let the offense put this game to bed. And the last one for the defense is pressure Emory Jones. When he drops back to pass, if there are Trojan pass rushers in his face, he will make mistakes. And we've all seen what happens when opposing quarterbacks make mistakes against this defense. They make you pay in a big way. Alright, so that's it for my keys to the game. So just some final thoughts. USC has the advantage in nearly every facet of this game. Realistically, USC should beat down this Arizona State team. The backup should be in to start the 4th quarter at the latest. USC needs to destroy this team to send a message to the rest of the conference. My score prediction for this one is USC 59, Arizona State 14. Make sure you let me know your score prediction down in the comments. Anyway guys, that'll do it for this game preview. Thank you all so much for listening. If you enjoyed this, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. I appreciate all the support and the wonderful comments. You guys are truly the best. So I will talk to you all on Monday when I put out my game review. But until then, enjoy the game guys and fight on.